Jensen in here again with the Faithful Review. It's your boy, the coach, here with my great partner in crime, my right-hand man, the best guy I know in this 49er content creation space,
Oh, thanks, man.
Tom Jensen. How are you, Tom?
I'm hanging in, Coach. I had our annual inspection for our apartment, so I had to do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, I'm half concrete now. I can barely move.
It's good, man. It's good, man. Hey, the same over here, man. Just closed out a good week over here at work. Just tons of work to do. Got a lot of things going on in my personal life. Handle that stuff. So, I mean, right now, man, we just working, bro. We're just handling things, getting things done, and ready to talk some Niners, man. Really, just NFL in general. Not just Niners, right?
Right.
But being able to look at the NFL and understand how certain news across the NFL juxtaposes to us, what that matters for the Niners, right?
Yeah.
Let's cut the let's come on, man. Let's cut it. Let's cut
Let's get to
it.
it.
Let's cut it. We are in a dead period. We're in a dead period, Tom.
Well, yeah.
And I don't want to lie and try to be facetious as if there's so much stuff to talk about, because there's not.
There it
There's
is.
really not. So
But we
so it's
still got something, thank God. So we're all right.
exactly, we got something. So what I wanted to do is just touch on a couple of topics, but this is a newsworthy topic, right? The San Francisco 49ers have finally signed their first round pick, Ricky Pearsall, to a 4-year, $12.5 million rookie deal, and it's fully guaranteed. It took a while, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speculate, but we will.
That's what we
What
do here.
exactly? But what does this signing say to you, Tom? The structuring of the signing, the fact that it was guaranteed money at him being picked 31st overall, the timing of the signing, the fact that he was essentially, I don't want to talk out of school, but was he the last first round pick to get signed?
I think so.
Yeah.
If not the last, he's really close because most teams
Hmm.
sign their picks by now.
Hmm.
So the timing is kind of questionable. It's just why did it take so long? And
Right.
I would guess that they're focused on other things. They had to extend McCaffrey. They've got the talks going on with Aiyuk. There's a lot of things that they're taking care of right now.
Hmm.
And it might have also been that Pearsall was pushing for fully guaranteed money all the way. Niners had
Hmm.
decided that's something they wanted to do or not. And so now they did. So it's a good commitment to him. 4 years, solid. Okay. And we'll see what happens going forward. But the timing just struck me as kind of off. I'm not sure
Hmm.
why it took this long.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Money comes from somewhere. The cap isn't infinite. It's not an infinite space. It is a
Yeah,
finite space. So could it be that maybe the stalls were not all on Ricky Pearsall's side? Maybe the Niners, as things have progressed or degressed, so to speak, with Brandon Aiyuk, maybe the Niners are probably saying to themselves, well, let's hold off on what we can do with Ricky because we're trying to see exactly where Brandon is. But maybe things have devolved to the point where they feel comfortable moving forward with a fully guaranteed deal with their guy.
that could be. They wanted to make sure that they had Pearsall signed, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so this is how you move forward with him is you say, okay, we have full confidence in you, fully guaranteed. Here we go.
Right.
And it signals to me that in case Ayuk isn't signed, that Pearsall's going to have a significant role in the offense. And
Mm-hmm.
looking forward, it's okay. We go to the Jets in the opener. If Ayuk is still not signed and is holding out, now what? And for the Jets, they've got one of the best pass defenses in the league, but their run defense is basically the same as ours.
Mm-hmm.
They give up the same yards per carry. So
Right.
if I'm the Niners, I'm starting Juwan Jennings in Ayuk's place because I need that blocking. Because
Right.
the run game is going to decide that. And so I would have Pearsall as the slot guy. And we'll see if that's how they go going forward. And then next is Minnesota, and I think that matchup really doesn't matter. The third week is then the Rams at SoFi.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes a key question is, do you have Aiyuk by then or not? And I think that they've got Pearsall signed as a safety net of just in case things go bad. we at least have ourselves covered with Pearsall and Jennings.
Hmm.
And I think that's their mindset going in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're a slave to appearances. The names matter to us, and
Yeah,
I don't know. I hate to say this, but I'm kind of emotionally getting myself ready for life after BA. You should.
maybe.
I mean, essentially, you should be getting ready for life after all of the players,
Sure.
but for where we stand right now, I just, it just seems like all of, it's like being a jilted lover. Like every little thing is an open wound that makes you, so it's just like everything that happens with the Niners, in a sense, it's like, well, what does that mean for Brandon? What does that mean for Brandon Aiyuk moving forward? Ricky Pearsall waiting out to get his deal as late as he did. And then, it being fully guaranteed in the midst of trying to get Brandon Aiyuk signed. It's not nothing, but it is something.
Sure it is. Yeah, and there's still plenty of rumors going around in terms of will Ayuk get dealt or not. A lot of people
Hmm.
are speculating on that now. The rumors out of Pittsburgh are that Omer Khan wants to wait and see that if Ayuk holds out and it goes bad, that he thinks he can get Ayuk at a discount. That's what
Mm,
all the Pittsburgh reports say. None of them know Lynch's history, not a one. Yeah, if you
mm,
did know Lynch's history, you knew what happened with Garoppolo. You know that Lynch anchors his feet to the center of the earth and says, "I'm not moving." Now, if you think you're going to get a discount from John Lynch, you're mistaken. It ain't going to happen
mm,
because look what he did with Garoppolo. I mean, even to the detriment of the team, he insisted on his price and hung on to him. So why would he, to the detriment of the team, suddenly trade Aiyuk? I don't think that's happening. So Pittsburgh wants Aiyuk at their price. Nah, nah.
it ain't happening.
Washington, I think that could because Adam Peters knows Lynch and knows what it would take. He's not going to do
Right.
something like that. I saw a fan stream in Washington. We're not going to do more than a second and a fifth. And I said, well, then you're going to get dial tone. And
Right.
Adam Peters knows that. And so I think that his knowledge of Lynch might help him in trying to structure a deal that he knows John would accept. Because Peters knows that Lynch isn't going to budge on this unless he thinks he's getting proper market value. And
Exactly.
so, will Peters do that? Maybe. Will that take the form of a player like Terry McLaurin, like Grant is saying? I don't think so. I think it would probably be more like picks, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But
It'd
if
have to
I'm the
be
Niners,
equity.
I would love to have Terry McLaurin or Jonathan Allen or Deron Payne. You know, give me one of those guys. But I think that Washington doesn't necessarily want to part with one, but I think that would help a deal go forward. And I think that that's the best chance of a deal. Even though Pittsburgh has always been interested, I think Washington's more realistic because Peters knows what it'll take.
Yeah, I do understand that. I think that Peters knows exactly how the Niners are built, what it actually tickle their fancy and get them moving. Most teams are going to try to be able to move from a position of what's best for their organization, but the Niners are they got first child syndrome. Like they want everything to be about them. And even when they are doing a deal, you have to make them feel as though that they've won the deal. It's just how the Niners do business. I think Adam Peters is actually somebody who could push that forward and actually get that deal done. And there's likely candidates, Jayden Daniels. I mean, likely interest. Adam
Sure.
Peters knows exactly who Brandon Aiyuk is. I think that Adam Peters thinks the world of Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, through backdoor channels, I pretty much have heard directly that he thinks the world of Brandon Aiyuk. Is he thinks that Brandon Aiyuk is a top 5 receiver right now.
Yeah.
So that's a move that I could see the Niners doing, but there is a fly in the ointment. Kyle and the organization. Kyle does not rock with Washington at all. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, I mean, and you
Well,
can look at them doing business. They moved on with Trent, and they got that deal
yeah.
done. And they also moved on with Chase Young, and they got that deal done. But I just don't necessarily see the Niners giving the Commanders value. Like Brandon Ayuk, for what it's worth, he's a franchise changing player if he's in the right position, right? And
Yeah.
I think the Niners know that. That's one of the things that is kind of like being swept under the rug, is that the Niners are trying to underpay for a player that they know in another market is well worth what he's asking for. I think
Sure,
that's the
yeah.
biggest thing.
Aiyuk isn't asking for beyond what he's worth. He's asking for market value. The Niners aren't willing to make it. And
Hmm.
so we'll see if they bend on that. In terms of Kyle in Washington, there might be some change because Snyder is gone and Peters is now the GM. I think that reshuffling of the deck in DC helps. That
Hmm.
Kyle knows that he's not dealing with Daniel Snyder anymore, and I'm sure that there was a lot of bad blood there between those two.
Right.
And there could have also been some problems in terms of just dealing with the organization, knowing the history. But I think that Kyle would be willing to turn the page, given that you've got new ownership, that Peters is the GM, somebody that Kyle knows and respects. I think that can change things.
Yeah. Uh, Rising tides rise all boats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I understand that, and I just I want to see us be able to work on get on the other side of the Brandon Ayuk deal, and not from a saying standpoint of I'm gonna say this. I'm past I'm past wanting the deal to get done. I'm
yeah.
past that.
You're
I'm
more of wanting the deal to be over.
yes. Oh, okay. All
Everybody
right.
has just
Okay.
we've got fatigue on all of this stuff.
We're
It's
coming.
dragged the entire time.
I'm telling you, bruh. Hold on. So we're we're on the same page from a standpoint of I don't even care if the deal gets done anymore. Like I'm ready for there to be resolution, right? Because
Yeah.
this isn't football, right? The deal, all of these contract negotiations and the back and forth of getting the deal signed, this all falls on a very fertile ground, right? And the fact is that there is no ground, right? The ground is infertile, it's barren, and that's why this is a topic, right? That's why we care about this. But
Yeah.
once the terrain gets tilled and gets refertilized with games, preseason, new narratives, camp, injuries, positions, power rankings, what the team finally looks like, emergence of teams, the the business of the league. I'm sorry, man. There's not a lot of time for people that are sitting on the sideline waiting to get paid. And that's not like a Brendan Ayuk thing, but that's just a football thing. You can
Right.
only hold out but for so long until nobody's gonna give you any caveat for, you know, not showing up for your $14 million a year job. That's gonna be hard, bro, to sell. And I feel as though that one thing with ball, Tom, is it's so fast that man, you could miss like 2-3 games and it could feel like a year. Like you can not be around and just miss the normal things that you take for granted in the game and really set yourself back. Case in point, Nick Bosa is hands down one of the best players in the league. We
Size.
know this,
Yeah.
right? Right? And
But he didn't get in football shape to begin the year, and it showed.
it took him
And
the entire it
Aiyuk, same thing.
yeah, even Nick Bosa, and this is somebody who he's the tip of the spear as far as
Correct.
conditioning, being preparedness, always being ready to play. Like at some in some instances, there are times where you could see coaches virtue signal to Nick Bosa's own program being more rigorous than what the Niners have for him. Right.
Right.
They've even made mention of that. And the fact that even him, right? Even Nick cannot get away from the fact that football shape is a whole different ball game. Playing in the game is a whole different ball game. Being ingratiated with your teammates and actually getting real reps in is a whole different ball game. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the last thing that BA wants to do is be the fourth option on an offense where you just had a breakout year and you spend the offseason in the gym working out in front of mirrors and treadmills and fake grass and cones. That's not football, bro.
No,
You ain't
no,
gonna get in shape.
you got
And
to
what's
get hit.
gonna be crazy about this time is that it's gonna bleed right into the narrative of, see, you ain't worth $30 million. Look at how you showed up. Look at how you're playing.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
and it's
saying?
not
Like,
really on him, but yeah, it gets attached to him because
it,
of the circumstance.
I just think that, and I'm not even here to say, I'm not even here to say that he shouldn't he shouldn't want his money, but show up to work. Point made.
Yeah, well,
Point made. You know what I mean? Point made.
oh no,
You made your
I
point.
understand I
You made your
understand where
point.
you're coming from. Yeah,
We know you want your 30 million. We understand. It's been leaked what the Niners are already paying you. But for what it's worth, the business of football does not care about these contract negotiations. And if you start slipping, that's the very kernel as to why you're even having the discussion. So
right.
if BA doesn't show up and show out, this is all for naught, right?
Yeah,
And
well, his talent, his ability is his market currency.
mhm,
And the longer he stays out, the lower that currency can get because you won't be as polished. You won't be as ready. You won't be in football shape. And so if you're saying, I deserve to get paid more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, as he's been throughout the process, if he holds out for 3 weeks, can he make that argument anymore? Probably not. And
and
so that's part of the deal is that he needs to understand of just you in your market value are a moving target. Right
yeah,
now in the offseason, you can say, I'm worth more than Amon-Ra St. Brown. But is Aiyuk holding out for 3 weeks and then taking another 2 to 3 to get in game shape worth Amon-Ra? Probably not.
yeah,
So he needs to be cognizant of that and needs to be aware of that. Um, in the chat, just wanted to say, Niner Gang, doing okay? How are you, sir? Dank on how good of a look is it for Jayden Daniels to get mixed up in it. I think he's lobbying for his guy. He and Aiyuk are friends going back to ASU. It makes sense. And it's not as if Peters is going to take it the wrong way. He knows Aiyuk's value. He wants to get that done too. So
hmm
I don't think that Daniels hurts his cause any by being directly involved in saying, I'd love to have this guy. Because I think the whole franchise is sold on the idea of getting Aiyuk. It's just at what cost? And
mm,
that's the issue is that not only do you have to meet what you want to do in terms of what you're willing to give up, but it has to be high enough to get Lynch to say okay. And Peters knows he has to clear both hurdles. That makes it so much harder.
yeah. It's going to be hard for it to even happen.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I think that it's all going to fizzle out. Believe that BA is going to pay on. I think BA is going to play on the 14 million this year. Maybe they'll try to get it done before the season ends. Hopefully, they maybe have a meeting of the minds, or they move him. But I don't want. I don't. It's not that I don't want BA here, but I don't want a player on his franchise deal, right? I mean, on his last year of his deal, playing for us on his fifth year deal, right?
Well, you don't want the distraction and you don't want the shadow that it casts over the locker room and the team. You
Yeah,
want fresh start, no issues. Here we go. Let's
yeah,
get back into the Super Bowl. And so you want all this stuff to be clear. Let's just give me a clear field that's firmly plowed, ready to go, so we can start the year and just get after it. And
right. But
if this is here and it hangs over them, that's not going to be a good way to start.
essentially, if you look at the window, Tom, you look at it from a perspective of it's really 8 months, six, really. We have now all the way until the trade deadline in October. Okay. Then after the trade deadline in October, it's a moot point. He's gone. Even if they franchise him next year, he's out of here. He's not staying, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to pay him a boatload to get him to stay. So really, the decision time right now is really within like this 6 month window because it's Niners had not 6 months, but really four in this 4 month window
Well,
because
really, the contract window is up until opening night.
yeah,
It's now to then is going to be when something has to be done. I hope that the Niners are willing to up their offer one last time, and Aiyuk is willing to compromise and say, "Okay, we'll just have to get this done." And then
right,
if I outplay this deal, then I'm going to look to get out of it and have an extension 2 years in. Now, they're going to want language that allows them to go back for a bigger bag if he succeeds. That would have to be
exactly,
part of the contract negotiation. And I think that's what it'll take is that he's going to want more than Amon Ra. I don't think he'll necessarily get it but he might get aspects of it that are more than Amon-Ra, and maybe that's enough to satisfy Aiyuk's competitive nature of saying, I'm better than that guy, you got to give me more. Maybe there's a higher signing bonus or more guaranteed money, something, but something he can hang on to of saying, we think you're better than that guy in this way. And maybe that's a way to get a compromise done. Because the Niners clearly don't want to pay him 4 years, 120. So is there another way you can do this in terms of guaranteed money, signing bonus, something that gives him something he can attach to and say, okay, in this way, I'm getting
In
more
this
than
way,
Amon
I
Ra.
was made
That
whole.
satisfies my ego.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're sitting here going through the weeds. The lump sum of it all is just ego.
Oh, sure. And
It's all
competitive nature.
posturing. Yeah.
It's just athletes want to compete, and one of the ways they compete, always in every sport, is money.
Yeah.
And the NBA is notorious for that, is the players compete on their salaries.
Definitely. So, moving into our next topic, and this is something that kind of died on the vine on our last show. And what's hilarious, Tom,
We
is
didn't have
that
time.
we didn't have enough time. And what's crazy is that I actually added the new topic, and as I was going through the deck, I found the old topic, and it's here, right
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So, this is your baby. This is something that you came to me with. You told me that you've had a take and a perspective about Coach Walsh and Kyle, and why Kyle was the anti-Bill Walsh, and comparing Shanahan's coaching style and philosophy to the legendary Coach Bill Walsh. So go ahead, Tom. I'm gonna let you go ahead and take it away. I'm gonna shut
Okay.
up and let you
Oh,
have it.
well, I still want you to respond, of course. But yeah, for Grant on SI is what can we get done here? You compare Walsh and Shanahan, and they're polar opposites in so many ways. First their record in terms of Walsh being undefeated in Super Bowls, Shanahan yet to win one. But beyond that, you say, okay, offensive coordinator, similar in terms of play design and scripting. Walsh invented scripting. And then you go to the head coach, and Walsh is better at prepping his team and game planning and dealing with dotting the I's, crossing the T's. One of the things that Grant's father, Lolcon, had to say was that Walsh would always tell his team, if there's a loose ball on the ground and a punt, fall on it, don't scoop it up. Chances are it will not be recovered. The
Mm,
important thing for us is get the ball. Imagine if Shanahan took a page from Walsh on that. Would he be a champion today? Maybe.
mm,
So I think part of this is that Shanahan needs to look at what Walsh has done as a guideline to how teams win
mm,
and say, all right, what am I doing that's preventing a championship? One is his take on the offensive line and not investing in it, not drafting in it. A second is flying on his own when he's missing details like freezing in Philadelphia when Devontae trapped the ball and Kyle didn't throw the flag. Or the NFC Championship game against the Rams where Debo didn't touch the ball for 9 minutes. Those are details that Walsh would address and Shanahan missed. And so I think if Kyle would take an honest evaluation and assessment of himself and say, how am I preventing a championship? Look at what Walsh did as an example of what you should be doing instead. Then as GM, Walsh was famous for letting a player go too early instead of too late. He did that with Montana trading to Kansas City, Barney Lott letting him go to the Raiders, Jerry Rice. Some of those didn't work for Walsh. And for Shanahan, okay, he let Armstead go, but they are going all in on McCaffrey and may very well go in on Trent and Kittle and Fred. And that'll be the real diametric. It's just what one is doing versus the other. Will that work? There are times when Walsh would say, in retrospect, that you're too early, you're too late. He made some bad calls. That there are some players that he wishes he hadn't moved on from. And I think that was most true probably of Jerry, who had excellent numbers post Niners and just defied time. But that's who Jerry Rice is. So I think that Shanahan needs to look at those things and say, here's what Walsh did, and he won. Here's what I'm doing, and I lost. And draw conclusions. Another thing that I would point to is one of my favorite aspects of Walsh that's not really played up that much is that he wouldn't just game plan for an opponent's weakness. He would game plan and look at a team's assumptions and try to take those assumptions away. And if you do that, your opponent is completely lost. They don't know how to respond to it. So an example of that is the Miami Super Bowl. Back at that time, 1985, early 85, the standard NFL defense was you always play with 3 linebackers. And Don Shula assumed that that would be the case. And Walsh and Seifert said, no, you don't have the running game to make me play 3 linebackers. I'm just going to put Keena Turner out there. Unheard of. It took away their assumptions. And so he put more coverage on the field with more corners. And there's a number of things that Walsh did like that, where it's just take away assumptions and look at the result. Miami was, the most prolific offense practically of all time at that time. They scored 16 points. That's the value of game planning against assumptions. I think that's something that Kyle needs to look at as well. So in total, I just look at it and say, there are things Kyle is doing that he could learn by taking a page from Walsh that would give him a better opportunity to win a championship. I can't hear you, Coach.
Sorry. Well said. Well said, Tom. Well said, bro. But you have to look at the way I see it is it's more of a maturation process, Tom. It's more about what Kyle is willing to do with his own personal growth, right? You have to ask yourself things like, are you a master of a process? Are you a master of yourself? Right? Like there is there's a theory, and I forgot the name of it, and I know exactly what it's called. It's called the the Dunning-Kruger effect. Are you familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of what Kyle is. I feel like Kyle has the Dunning-Kruger effect. And really, this is kind of on the fly because me. I wish I would have thought about this before the show and I would have put the definition up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it while we're talking. But so basically, the Dunning-Kruger effect is when you get inside of a skill set and you become so immersed with it that so quickly, so fast, because of your access to it, you believe that you are a expert at it. And what happens is that the best way to describe what happens to you is that you know enough to know all the reasons why you're right, but you know nothing about all of the reasons about why you could be wrong. And that's the Dunning-Kruger effect, is that you become so much of a know-it-all and you become so much of an aggressive and positive and assertive thinker in a field that you haven't taken the time to actually go through the druthers, get told no, actually fail enough for you to be able to understand the entire spectrum of the skill set. And what happens is that through that duration, there's almost kind of like a bell curve where you come in high because you think you're an expert at the subject matter, and then you immediately dip low into understanding all of the things about the subject matter that you thought you did that you're learning now through failure. But the only point about getting out of the Dunning-Kruger effect is the bell curve up. Right? You have to be able to find enlightenment based on the high entry of everything that you learned about the subject matter versus all of the low experiences that you've had with the subject matter on understanding the negative effects and why your theories have been wrong. And what you do is you juxtapose those two experiences together.
Exactly.
And on the other side, you become an expert. And I think that Kyle is kind of dipping down into the downward slope of the Dunning-Kruger effect, where he's coming up against all of the things that he thought were right that are going wrong. And it's up to him to understand if his ego is going to put him on that upward slope of the trajectory of becoming an expert. Because you don't become an expert about at anything unless you've had the good with the bad. You've got to be able to show both experiences in order for you to say, I know the full spectrum of what this subject matter or what this area can offer. And I feel as though that coming in as a coach's son, being able to cut your teeth, like Kyle didn't learn, like, dude, I learned football playing coaching high school ball, bro. You know what I'm saying? I like
Yeah.
my first
Well, it's the
offensive
core.
lineman. Yeah, like I didn't get this cut my teeth on the floor of Monty Kiffin's defensive meeting rooms. Like,
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something to that. There's something to having an original origin story. And I feel as though that sometimes when you get offered the best of the best, kind of you just have this top down perspective of how you think you can get a job done. And I just feel as though, and I know that I'm belaboring the point right now. I'm so
No,
sorry, Tom.
it's great.
But and one thing about Kyle is that I just want him to be able to go out there and get his blue collar certification of football, like understanding that you don't need as many bells and whistles wrapped around your process. Hey, the reason it's almost like this, like I'm an outdoorsman, right? Like I love to be out. I
Okay.
try my best. And my thing is like Kyle is the guy that goes out hunting with a brand new rifle. It's black, okay? It's
Well, it's all
lacquered.
top of the line, but he doesn't know
It's
how to
top
use
of the
any of
line,
it.
brand new, okay? And he knows how to hit every shot in perfect conditions. But the biggest thing that he doesn't know is that number one, your freaking gun is a goddamn mirror. All types of light is going to be bouncing off of that thing. We're going to be seen for miles by any bird, creature, or animal alive. Second of all, that brand new gun oil you got on that gun, you got to smelling like pine cones out here. Everybody's going to be smelling this out for a country mile. Like, hey, nice hiking boots. They got tread on them that get. Come on, man. The tread on them is too deep. You're going to be
Yeah.
walking around with
Yeah.
moccasin mud shoes in 2 miles. I just want him to be able to understand that he needs to become a survivalist of football,
Well,
of process. And that is my
he
TED talk for the
needs.
day.
Yeah.
That's my TED talk for
Okay.
the day.
That's your TED talk. Good stuff.
Yeah,
I love that. He needs to be grounded. He needs to be honest as he possibly can with himself, and that's part of the problem. Is that he thinks that he earned that initial opportunity they received in the NFL. No, you know, your father put you on second base. You didn't hit a double,
yeah,
and you need to be aware of that and act like it, and be understanding and appreciative of the fact that you got to jump ahead of a lot of people because of your dad, and
yeah,
you need to be humbled by that and not look at it and say, "Well, I'm an expert." I mean, not necessarily good. Not necessarily. Um, and he also, because he's such a narcissist, he's not willing to take accountability, which makes it very difficult for him to learn. He doesn't
yeah,
learn from his mistakes. That's the fundamental difference. Walsh will learn from his mistakes. Kyle rarely does, and that's part of it. Terry Burns saying in the chat, Walsh had a 13-2 record, and then they lost to Minnesota. Yeah, the Anthony Carter game. I know they had the best team in the league and lost and shouldn't have, and that's on Walsh. And Eddie D did pay for the best players. Walsh had some failures, but when it counted most, Walsh had brilliant game plans, marched through the to the Super Bowl and won. Kyle, on the other hand, didn't deal with the details, didn't stay on message as far as what he needed to do to win. And as coach is pointing out here, Terry, he's saying that Kyle doesn't understand ground up football. Kyle understands X's and O's. He doesn't necessarily put himself on the field and understand leverage space, etc. Kyle is very good at designing a play, but you still need to know how your team wins. And part of how your team wins is playoff games are won on individual matchups. And that's where this Super Bowl got in the way, is that Chris Jones was better than anybody. The Niners had to block him. And the Niners didn't have the blocking schemes to deal with what Kansas City was doing in sim pressure. And so the cardinal rule of playoffs, you lose based on matchups, was not part of what Kyle did or how Kyle thought about his team or how he builds a roster. All of those things factor in, but you have to determine, if I want to win a championship, I have to win the matchups. I'm losing the matchups on 4/5 of my offensive line. That's why I'm losing. Adjust.
Yeah. I just I really feel that way, and in a sense, this isn't unique to Kyle. This is everybody. We've all been in a position in our lives where we've been inside of something where it's like, oh, I got this. Oh, I got this. I know there's nobody that can tell me this, and then you fall on your face. And the difference between you owning the skill set or owning the lesson, rather, is really just your self-awareness on saying, all right, I came in a little too I came in a little too hot, but I do want to learn this. I do want to get better. I do respect what happened to me, right? And I'm not going to move forward the same way that I did before. What I'm going to do is I'm going to understand that there's other people inside of this skill set who know more than me. All right. And I'm not going to foolishly keep going about my own method of doing this just because it gets me to a point where I'm better than 80%. And that's really what's hard, right? Think about it. Like when you're trying to traverse through your life and trying to attack goals, right? How many times have you gotten like 70 to 80% there and you kind of look back on accident and look at the field or kind of look at your progress and you're like, dude, I'm way better than most though. And it's like, yeah, but you're not past the 20 in front of you though. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something that they do that you don't do. And you know, it's gonna be a hard lesson to see. We, like I said, we evaluate the players all the time. We talk about who's worth being on this team. We're gonna be more than in the throes of talking about all of this stuff, especially when the offseason. I mean, when the offseason really gets underway once preseason starts in training camp. But you know, there's nobody that's really gonna have this conversation about what is he gonna do different this year. How's he gonna pivot? How is Kyle going to pivot this
Well,
year?
I think they are going to pivot defensively in that they got so burned by simulated pressure, they're going to adopt that. But
Hmm.
then so's the rest of the league. But it shows in that what they did in the draft, especially where you've got Green and Mustafa coming in, who are both good run defenders that can blitz, and you're adding Leonard Floyd, who has experience in playing in different sets and 5-man fronts or what have you, and dropping back. That you've got the capability now, you've got the skill sets to utilize simulated pressure more. And I think that's their main pivot, is that through Floyd and the young secondary, they're going to be far more active in disguising pressures and bringing blitzes, dialing things up. But on offense, I wonder just how much is really going to change here. I don't think there's going to be much.
It seems like just the aggression versus Brandon Ayuk is almost kind of like a push for business as usual in a sense. You can tell
Yeah,
that it's not only are they pushing back on just his utilization versus how much they want to pay him, right? They're saying like, dude, you got to roll. You're not going to get paid outside of your role. That's what I'm feeling on my side.
yeah,
But also and just to let you know what we think about your role, we went out and got a guy in the first round. You know what I'm saying? He's exactly what we need in this role. And I think that's what kind of hurts Brandon Ayuk's. I think that's what, but if I was in his position, that would piss me off to think that I've overachieved and done way more than than what you've asked for. And I've almost achieved and pushed myself where I've made like a model of myself in the skill set, and to see that it's so easy for you to just go get a guy because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
money's not
and
hit.
think that
It's like,
he can replace me when look what I've done for you,
yeah, it's like,
and
what
look
the fuck was
how
the doghouse for? What was all that for?
that too. But then you also have to factor in how much he is as a blocker, how much he is as a leader in the locker room, how
Yeah.
he's mentoring people, including across the way, where it's an offensive player in Aiyuk mentoring and befriending Diamado Lenore. And
Hmm.
he might have been the most improved Niner over the course of the year last year. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, Aiyuk plays a factor in that. And I feel for Aiyuk in the sense that he's almost a victim of timing. That
man.
if he was up for his contract when Debo was, would they have paid Aiyuk and then done this with Debo? You know, I would that would go through my head if I was Aiyuk a little bit. But I'm still confused by all this, and that I think, look, he's 26. He has a great rapport with Purdy. He does everything you need for your offense to succeed, and you're screwing him and having all these dragged out talks over $3 to $4 million. Pay him, move on. And if it's too much, then move on from Debo. And I think that that's part of the foot dragging here is that Kyle doesn't want to necessarily move on from Debo, but he needs to.
I think that Debo makes things extremely easy for Kyle as far as calling plays are concerned, and I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
look at the
Kyle wants to
Super
get rid
Bowl.
of that.
Yeah, but what did it get you? That's the
Nothing.
problem.
Uh, okay. Listen, I feel like we close off our topics and it gets so bleak.
It does, but you still look at it and say that they still made it to the Super Bowl. There's still things that they do very well. It's just that the final climb from base camp to the summit of the mountain is where Kyle has trouble. And part of that is the survivalist that he's not. Part of that is anti Walsh. Part of that is not holding himself accountable. If they're
Hmm.
going to get to the summit, Kyle himself has to change. And he needs to be aware of that. But he's such a narcissist that's very difficult for him to do. The one thing that I look at and gives me some hope is that after Jaquaski Tard bumbled the ball and the pure interception with the Rams, the Niners finally saw the light of day in terms of we need ball skills in the secondary. Before, their mindset was we just need a pass rush. We don't need anybody back there with ball skills. They changed to ball skills and they go from last in the league in picks to first. So that one change shows you the importance of what a change in philosophy can do. If
Hmm.
Kyle had that similar philosophy epiphany, this team wins a ring.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, man. Um, it's still going to come down to Kyle. It's still going to
Yeah,
come down to how he calls the game in the biggest games because, um, for what it's worth, the last game we lost to a team that is, look, Patrick Mahomes is always going to get his just due because he should, right?
well, best of
But
week.
right, but for what it's worth, we lost that. That was a defensive team. That was a defensive one game. The Chiefs beat us with their defense. They didn't beat us with their
Yeah,
offense.
yeah, because we lost the matchups.
Yeah.
And that, again, it points directly back to Kyle's philosophy on offensive line. You want to save cap by going cheap on the OL except for Trent. Doesn't work.
Hmm.
You've lost 2 Super Bowls now to Chris Jones. Adjust.
Right. So, what I did want to do is get into our next topic. Um, let's get rid of this Dunning Kruger effect situation. We
That was
already
great.
understand. They look.
Nailed
It
that.
just kind of came
Nailed
out of
that.
nowhere, bro. I was just
Yeah.
like, dude, I remember this. All right. So, uh, we went through this a couple of times, but I was surprised. I mentioned it to you when we were going over our pre-show, and I said to you, I was like, man, dude, there was a real good topic that I wanted to talk to you about, but I've already talked about it a couple of times with Grant and Jesse. And I was surprised that you did not read this article. You're usually Johnny on the spot with stuff like this. So I figured,
Yeah.
what better a time than now than to go over it with you? But there was recently an SI article that came out that ranked the top 32, the top 1 through 32 coach quarterback tandems in the NFL today going into the season. And the way the top 10 is shaped is based on what your perspective is on how you see it. So what premise? Are you looking at the best? Are you looking at the best future? Are you looking at, the best to win this year, the best immediately, the best coming off of the season? So I'm going to give you the top 10 and I just want to hear your comments on it.
Okay.
So ranked 1 obviously is Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid at 1. And this is when it gets funny. So this is the top quarterback coach tandems. Ranked 2 is John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson.
Okay. If you're measuring it in terms of MVPs and in terms of just pure stats, okay. But what's Lamar done in the playoffs? I wouldn't put it the same thing because Lamar's playoff record isn't good enough for number 2.
Dog, I said the same thing. In the last time that we were talking, I was like, I don't know how they can be 2. I don't know how he can be 2, and they haven't actually produced anything. So, but that's 2. 3 going in. So right now,
criteria is under question here already.
Thank you, Tom. Okay. All right. This is why you're my guy, Tom, because I was getting pushback from Jesse and Grant. Okay.
Well, Jesse gets pushback from his son. Lamar Jackson's #1 fan.
Talk to me about this. Okay.
Well, his son just turned 10 yesterday. Cute kid.
Yeah.
Great kid. And he just loves Lamar Jackson. It's always been his favorite player. So I think that part of that is Jesse sees a lot of Ravens games. But come on now. Baltimore had the better team last year against Kansas City. What happened? Now, you can say part of that is Todd Monken, but part of that's Lamar.
Yeah.
And so if you want to say Harbaugh, Lamar, then you're saying this is only a regular season metric. No.
Yeah.
Playoff success has to be part of this unless it's a brand new pairing like Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. You don't know because it's brand new. But for everybody else, if they've got a playoff history, let's see it. How can you put Lamar ahead of Burrow when Burrow got to the Super Bowl and Lamar didn't?
Yeah. So let's go into the third one, and I want you to hear me and Jesse's conversation as well into this. I want you to hear that conversation as well. So we're gonna start now. You already know we're gonna go back and forth. So we're with the top 2 already. All right. Okay. So we've gone with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid at 1. Okay. And we're already at Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh 2. This is me and Jesse going through it.
I think a coach tandem is how you can look at success. So I made a top 5 list. And then I'm going to tell you the teams and quarterbacks that I snubbed. You tell me what you think. You tell me where you agree or disagree. So I think the obvious team, number 1, Mahomes and Reid. I mean, listen, Mahomes still isn't 30. Reid, until he's not here, I mean, he's the best coach in the NFL. I'll even take Mahomes and Reid for 3 years and then replacement level head coach for 2 years, and I'll still feel good about it, right? So give me the Mahomes-Reid combo. That's number 1. Number 2, give me Lamar and Harbaugh.
Okay.
Nope.
Now, mind you. All right. Now, mind you, this is Jesse.
Who really knows his stuff, and then
but Jesse hasn't seen this article, so Jesse is doing this blind. Okay.
Oh man, and he called it second, and the guy picked them.
He called it. Yes, that's why I'm playing this. So Jesse called. So I have the list. Jesse's already saying that he thinks that Lamar and John Harbaugh should be number 2. Okay.
So Jesse was a ghostwriter on the article.
He was a ghostwriter on the article. Right. So, all right. So now that we know that, right? Listen to this.
Right. Harbaugh, we know he's won a Super Bowl, or he's won a Super Bowl with another quarterback. Lamar's got a couple MVP awards. The Ravens are just always good. I'm going to trust that combo. Number 3.
No.
That's where it gets interesting. This is where it's tough for me. I'm going to go with Herbert and the other Harbaugh.
At number 3!
We don't know yet. Yeah, they could be, but
yes!
how can
I don't know what the hell he was talking about.
How can you pick them at 3 when they haven't even played a down together? No,
Bro.
No. Yeah. What about Stafford and McVay when they won a Super Bowl?
Bro, I was looking at him like, are you serious?
No. No. I mean, maybe this year, I love Harbaugh. And what Jesse is doing is saying, here's the capability. Here's the roof.
Yes.
The ceiling of a coach and a quarterback. And therefore, I take roof A, roof B, put them together. They're going to be great. And that's what you do with Harbaugh and Lamar because of MVPs and Super Bowl victories and the other Harbaugh and Herbert. But you can't deny reality itself.
Dog, hold on. I want Jesse to call in, bro, because this is nuts, bro. This is nuts. I'm getting him to call in.
Sorry, Jesse.
So number 3,
you're coming from. I think that they could be number 3 this year.
Yes.
But right now, you can't do that.
Dog, he had him at number 3. So the article has Sean McVay.
3? Okay.
No.
Well, at least they had McVay and Stafford. Okay.
The article has McVay and Stafford at number 3. Okay.
Okay. They should be 2.
All right. I think they should be 2. But Jesse has Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson at 2, and he's got Harbaugh and Herbert at 4. I mean at 3. He's got Harbaugh's back to back. He's back to back Harbaughing. What's he doing? He's doubling down on the Harbaugh. Okay,
it's his process is who's a great quarterback coach, who's a great quarterback, as opposed to what has the tandem done together.
Yes. Okay. All right. So look, we're about to go.
That's what he's doing.
So here, check this out. Okay.
Okay.
Surprising.
It's tough, but right now I've got Herbert as a top 5 quarterback in the league. I believe he is.
Yeah.
I think Harbaugh's a really good head coach. I mean, he won a national championship. He's made it to a Super Bowl in the NFL. Everywhere he goes, they win. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're necessarily going to be a lot of people are like, oh, they're going to be a playoff team this year. I don't see that. If they were, though, I mean, that's a Harbaugh special. He does this, right? I think next year is the year that we really got to look at, but I'm looking at a 5-year forecast.
Right.
I like Harbaugh. I like Herbert. Give me them. Number 4, I'm going with C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans.
4?
Man, what do you think?
4?
Yeah.
Ahead of Burrow? No.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
If this is a projection of this is what I think it could be at the end of this season after the Super Bowl, okay. Now I believe a lot in C.J. Stroud, and I love DeMeco. I think that could happen,
right?
But what have we seen so far? Playoff exit.
Okay, now listen to what I said. Now, but for context, the article. They have DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud at 4.
Okay, so what it says is that the guy writing the article has the same process as Jesse.
Yes.
He's evaluating each piece individually and saying, here's what they're capable of, as opposed to here's the tandem and what they've done on the field.
Exactly. Okay, so listen to my response on them being 4.
I think C.J. Stroud, listen, it's only 1 year, but I think he's got all the intangibles to be elite in this league. DeMeco Ryans, I mean, he's, again, 1-year head coach, but I think he's a superstar in the making as far as head coach goes. I love that he's young. I love that he's energetic. Mm-hmm. Stroud's going to be cheap for a majority of the next 5 years. I like them at number 4. And number 5, and then I'm going to tell you the teams that I snubbed, and you tell me where I went wrong with this list.
There's a huge snub right now if you don't name who I'm going to take.
There's 3 snubs that I'm listing, but we'll go. Number 5, and whoever you're thinking of, I almost guarantee is not going to be on my list.
All right, it can't. This is the biggest snub of all time if you don't say this.
It might be. Number 5, I'm going with Love and LaFleur.
Oh boy.
This is a snub. You're nuts. Yo, listen to my reaction. This is the biggest snub of all time if you don't say this.
It might be. Number 5, I'm going with Love and LaFleur.
This is a snub. You're nuts. Bro. Okay.
Well, yeah. Come on. What have they done? Again, it's Jesse is evaluating the individuals involved and paying no attention to the tandem as a team on the floor, on the field.
Yes, but
you can't do that. You and I are the exact opposite. We're one saying you have to start from the field and what they've done.
Thank you. But he has a saving grace. Okay, he has a saving grace. So let's go back to the list. At 5 for the list, Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love.
See, well, again, it's if you have the same process in how you come to these rankings, then it'll match up. The guy had the same process as Jesse's, therefore, same list.
Full disclosure. Now, I have been saying that the list was supposed to be on the field. There's something that I messed up on the list, okay? What I did is Jesse came at me. We want to get to the whole list, but there was something about the list that I forgot. There was a certain premise about the list that Jesse sent to me. Now, what's wild is that Jesse is saying that he did not see this article before we did this take. Before we did this subject.
I buy that. It just so happens he had the same process as the guy that wrote the article.
Okay. So right now,
that can happen.
Right now, he's looking okay because he's got 2 hardballs. The only thing that he hasn't hit yet is he had Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert at 3, and he had John and Lamar Jackson at 2. He missed on that because the original list had Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford at 4. But for the top 5, he's 4 out of 1.
He only missed 1.
He only missed 1. Okay? So this is my reaction. I got some snubs. I got
LaFleur.
This is a snub. You're nuts. I got some snubs. I got some snubs, man. You're wildin'.
Give me Love and LaFleur. I think LaFleur has proven to be a good head coach. He's done it now with multiple quarterbacks. You've got a good young team in Green Bay. Green Bay is always competitive. I mean, no matter what, they're always competitive.
Hey, they put CJ Stroud and D'Amico at 4 Sentinel.
And Jordan Love, I think, much like CJ Stroud, I'm not as confident in him as I am CJ Stroud. But I like the marriage of Love and LaFleur. If it falls apart, I think it's because of Love, not LaFleur. I think Love's on his way.
All right.
Now, let me tell you this before you get the snub.
I'm ready to go, bro.
You notice how my favorite quarterback's not on this list.
All right, I understand.
My favorite quarterback is not on this list.
You snubbed 2. You got some serious snubs.
I think I got 3 snubs, but give 2. Who did I snub the most? What would your list be?
All right, number 1. Okay. All right, so what are your snubs before I go there? Who are your snubs? Because I want to hear what you have to say. He's already given his top 5, right? Jesse's top 5 are Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, of course. But he goes John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson, Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. Then he goes CJ Stroud, and he goes CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryans and Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, Zach Taylor.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. They're 1.
Okay.
Josh Allen and Sean McDermott.
Okay.
And Rodgers, because he won a Super Bowl.
Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh?
Yeah, because Rodgers won a Super Bowl. These other guys haven't. But the other one that you can look at, but if you want to say that, proof on the field, I have to apply my own thinking to me, then Kyle and Purdy. He's
All right.
made it to Super Bowls. Come on.
Okay. All right. So let's hear this. On Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. All right.
Above Mahomes and Reed?
Not above them, but I'm talking about. All right, so hold on.
You notice how my favorite quarterback's not on this list.
All right, I understand.
My favorite quarterback is not on this list.
You snubbed two. You got some serious snubs.
I think I got 3 snubs, but give two. Who did I snub the most? Where? What would your list be?
All right, number one, John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. All right,
above Mahomes and Reed?
Not above them, but I'm talking about snubs.
No. I had Lamar and Harbaugh number 2. They were number 2 for me.
Yeah. So you had 2 Harbaugh brothers in your top 5.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's not a snub. The snub is the people he hasn't picked.
Yes, thank you. And I'm telling him that John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson is way too high at 2.
Yeah, but it's not a snub. It's a bad call.
Okay, here we go.
Talking semantics. Snub is who wasn't picked.
Yeah. I had Mahomes and Reed.
So then let me give you the next biggest snub.
Okay.
Sean McVay and Matt Stafford.
See, I just don't know that Matt Stafford's going to make it.
Over LaFleur and
5 years.
And the straight face kid.
It's a 5. Listen, two. Let me tell you 2 reasons. This is a 5-year plan, right? We're talking 5 years.
What? Oh, I didn't factor that.
Sean McVay supposedly.
There you go. So what changed
so we're
everything?
Talking about the next 5 years.
Yes, he's saying the next 5 years. Okay.
Well, okay, that changes a lot. But if you're just evaluating them, I thought that we were only just evaluating them on what they've done.
That was my problem. I thought we were evaluating the guys on the field. Okay. So now that
it's a different list, if it's 5 years out, then okay, now that changes things. Sure.
All right. So now that we've gotten that crap out of the way.
That was huge.
Yes, it changes everything. Right? So now that you know that, 5 years out, how do you feel about Jesse's list juxtaposed to the top 10? So let's go with the top 10 first. I'm going to go with Jesse's top 5, and then we'll just go all the way with the top 10. All right? Jesse's top 5 were Patrick Mahomes, John Harbaugh, and Lamar Jackson. Okay? Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love. And finishing out with who else did he say? Jim Harbaugh and Jordan Love, DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud, Sean McVay and Matt He put in Jim Harbaugh and John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson at 2, and Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert at 3.
Yeah.
All right.
And
now
then CJ at 4 and Love at 5.
Now, bearing out the rest of this list, he elevated Jim, but the rest of the real list is Jim at 6 and Justin, Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow at 7, Sean McDermott and Josh Allen at 8, Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy at 9, and Dan Campbell and Jared Goff at 10.
Okay. What about the rookies? 5 years. What about Jayden Daniels? What about Caleb? That's why you should never do this to begin with. You shouldn't do 5 years out because you just don't know.
You hear that, Jesse? Say it again, Tom.
You can't do 5 years out because, especially for the rookies, you just don't know yet. They could.
You hear that, Jesse? I know you're going to watch this tonight. You're going to watch this show, and I want you to know that I thought that this topic was bullshit, even though I didn't listen to the original premise, so even though you text me. And Tom thinks that this premise is bullshit, Jesse. Just so he knows, because I thought that this is kind of an arbitrary topic anyway. If you put it 5 years out, it's hard for you to tell, bro. It really is.
Well, I guess that if you did this list, you would have to exclude the rookies. But I think that they could have something to say. Because look at what CJ Stroud has done. In his rookie year, would we have had CJ on the list? No. And here he is. So you have to factor that in. I think that Jayden Daniels could be very good. within 5 years, I think Jayden might do a lot of damage. The other thing on that list is Detroit that low. I doubt it. I think Detroit's going to do damage too. But yeah, if it's supposed to be about the next 5 years, okay, then yeah, it changes dramatically because Stafford won't be around for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's about what you've done to this point on the field, Reed and Mahomes, McVay and Stafford 1-2, and then Burrow and Taylor, and then Shanahan and Purdy.
I agree with you. It was kind of a gotcha topic. We're in the middle of the dead period. He got me. I
Yeah,
got him.
it's just that whole thing changes the entire context of the discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
The
I
5 year
agree.
thing changes everything.
Mm-hmm. It does. All right, moving into our next to last topic of the day. And this is something that we saw earlier on, and I don't think anybody's really talked about it, but we had some thoughts about it. Just some implications for the future of the league, particularly how the Niners are ran. But there is a new proposed quarterback salary cap that's being floated around. I don't think it's anything serious right now, but
No, no.
it's just an idea. It's kind of floating out there. But hey, this is how legislation is birthed. Like ideas come out of necessity, and all of a sudden it's the law of the land. So
Right.
it's interesting, being as though that we've almost kind of made ourselves mentally a quarterback salary cap. We always kind of do the numbers. If a quarterback takes over 12% of the cap, it's going to be a losing team, and we judge quarterbacks based off of their success or the production that they have after they get their money versus before they get their money. Most teams are always predisposed to wanting to get a rookie quarterback because they want to be able to build and try to race against time to win on that rookie deal, because they understand that the market is going to be, basically all or nothing when it comes time for that guy to get paid. It's going to strap
Yeah.
your salary cap. So paying for a quarterback is a really big deal, man, because there's some quarterbacks that get signed because teams foolishly move forward because they believe in them. Not even foolishly, but they just believe. And they
Well, or
don't.
they don't think they've got a choice.
Or there you go. That's my next point. Then you also get quarterbacks who actually get paid because there are some teams where it's like, we're hamstrung, man. We're way too up the mountain with this guy. We're too far along in process, but we know we're pretty much not too encouraged on us making it there, but we've come way too far along to lose all of the pieces and the support and the fan base and the money that's trapped around these guys. So we got to kind of put a paper bull around this guy and sign him. In many instances, you can almost look at the Trevor Lawrence deal and say that's exactly what his deal was.
Yeah.
He's got 4 years, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I ain't seen a highway with more exits every mile than his contract. I'm gonna tell you, boy,
That's a great line.
there is an out
True.
everywhere. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? So
yeah.
they're not married to him at all with that
No.
contract that they did. It's essentially a scholarship. They gave him 4 1-year deals.
Yeah.
And they put them all together. So what say you, Tom? How do you feel about moving forward with what does the world look like with a NFL salary cap? How does that thing split up? How are teams going to tackle it? What do you think?
Well, first, let's be real about what this discussion is at and about. Owners want the salaries to go down, and
Right.
quarterback salaries are just way out of control. So I think the idea of a quarterback salary cap makes sense. And chances are it's the ownership that is looking at having to pay somebody they don't want to pay a whole bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
Translation, this is Jerry Jones pushing for this. He doesn't want to have to pay Dak what Dak wants.
Oh no.
That's one thing this is about. The
Mm-hmm.
second is that even though it's getting discussed, most of the owners are saying, "Yeah, I don't want to do that. I've already paid my quarterback." So you've
Mm-hmm.
already got a bunch of people that. How are you going to do this retroactively? You're not. So you'd have
Mm-hmm.
to grandfather it in, and then it's so watered down, it's not really a salary cap. But they could put it in place now, grandfather the teams that have quarterbacks on existing deals, and then apply the cap once you have another quarterback. And then say, okay, your next quarterback signing, you have to be under the salary cap to do it. They could do that. That's one way that they could go about it. The other way is something that they've discussed before, which is have a salary cap and leave the starting quarterback out of it. Have a cap
Hmm.
for the rest of the roster. And the concern for the Niners is they've overinvested in that because Brock made nothing. And so if there's a non-quarterback salary cap, that could be bad news for the Niners, especially with all these extensions they're looking at for older players. They're going to bust that cap. And I think that that's a possibility, is that this discussion of quarterback only salary cap also gets paired with a roster non QB salary cap. And that number could be something the Niners don't want to see. So they could eventually get some help from, you can only pay Brock so much, but then they could also face the music of, you can't extend these guys now because the roster salary cap is going to be too low. And I think that's another factor in all this, is that the owners want overall salaries to go down. One of the ways you do that is by limiting the quarterback salaries long term, and by putting a hard cap, on the rosters without a quarterback. That could be tough for the Niners.
Yeah, the way I see it is something. The way I see it is exactly how you brought up. One of the points is top heavy teams could struggle. You start splitting up that salary cap. One thing you're looking at is not necessarily something that's going to be advantageous for the quarterback side of things, but that cap is going to dwindle for the entire team, right?
Right.
Now, there's going to have to be an attestation of some sorts, right? Of what does a quarterback's worth mean to the salary cap as it stands now, right? What if it's
Yeah.
10%? What if it's 25%? Whatever. They go, and that all businesses are made on the ground floor. So whatever that number is on what quarterbacks are worth, you got to be guaranteed that it's going to be juxtaposed on what they want to come off of the cap anyway, right? And
Yeah.
what they'll do is they're going to find a way to make the cap smaller, right? Because it's going to make sense on surface. Like, oh yeah, we're taking out essentially the most expensive player on the roster. But what's going to happen is that, do you think that you're going to trust 32 billionaires to adequately bring down the till right exactly where it belongs? No, they're going to plummet that cap.
There's a
Okay.
reason they're billionaires.
Yeah.
It's basically my response to all that. And the NFL owners as a group are as greedy as it gets. Always have.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I also noticed is that the value of certain players is going to be able to be started to get attacked now.
Yeah.
If you think about it, I think
That's
that,
what this is about. It's more
yeah.
about limiting the salaries of the other players than the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think that they see that, all right, it's okay for us to pay a quarterback. He's the face of our team. He takes all the hits. He's the guy that has to take on really the mental brunt of moving this team. Is essentially another coach on the court. I get it. And we can protect him. So you get a good one, he's going to stay for 10 to 15 years if you're lucky. However, we're getting way too liberal with these receiver contracts, with these defensive line contracts, with these pass rusher contracts. And what we need to do is we need to start separating the two. You got to understand that this still is a quarterback's league. Think about it this way, Tom.
Yeah.
Imagine if this was happening when Tom Brady was running the show.
Ooh.
Nobody would get paid. Think about all of
Well, and
those
there's a lot of
short deals that Tom took when he was playing for the Patriots in order for his teammates to get paid. Do you in the Patriots were moving out uh, anybody who had a halfway decent year that was on the cusp of getting paid. The Patriots were notorious for moving players early, man. They did it with Richard Seymour. They did it with Deion Branch. They did it with the guy. What's the kid that they got out of Southern Miss that they moved out to? Cleveland. That nice ass DN that they got. I forgot what his name was, but this is almost in a way what the Patriots were kind of showing everybody, not only winning Super Bowls, but they were showing them fiscally what it takes to win Super Bowls.
Well, Brady was a Trojan horse for them to say everybody takes less. And
Yeah.
then they moved out anybody that was about to get it back. And they just let them go.
Financially, Tom Brady is the biggest Benedict Arnold in the NFL, and nobody notices it.
Oh, sure.
Yo, I got tons of friends that are in or around the league or that played in the league, and Tom Brady is the Dalai Lama, man. Like I can't find one player that played with Tom or was around him that has anything disparaging to say about Tom. But they all fall flat when I say, well, what about all of those team friendly deals that Tom Brady was taking all of those years and like kind of killing the Players Association?
Yeah.
Like
That's the
all
thing, is that he calibrates the ceiling. And then the Patriots took it one further and said, Tom Brady's willing to take less. Why aren't
there
you?
you go.
That's what this was about. It
Yeah.
wasn't about Brady saying, I'm sacrificing so that you can then pay my teammates. Did they? No.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
didn't pay him at all. You want money? Go someplace else. And that's
Yeah.
part of how New England was able to keep everything together, is because it wasn't just a salary cap on Brady, but the entire roster.
Yeah. I mean,
And
you
it
think
felt like
about it.
the entire league.
Yeah. I mean, it hurt the entire league, his reign
Yeah. Yeah.
physically. Like, think about it this way. How was Kirk Cousins the first fully guaranteed quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah. Make that make sense. You can't. You
Come
know what?
on, man.
But then the other thing with this is Brady could afford to do that because he was married to the biggest supermodel in the world.
Yeah.
Giselle made more money than he did. So sure,
Yeah.
he could take less money. Yeah. How many
Definitely.
players have a Brazilian supermodel wife making more than they do?
I know a
It's not
couple.
like you can factor that in.
I know a couple.
Yeah. Well, they're
Yeah. I
lucky.
mean, but so look, man, he didn't help at all. But I'll tell you one. I think we are in agreement that we're in agreement that, hey, look, this is about the owners trying to corral the surging markets of a lot of different positions in the NFL. I mean, and it's happening every year. Next year, I think it's going to be guards. Guards are going to get paid big time next year, and corners are going to get
Well,
paid.
corners always do, but that's going up. And guards,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's going to hurt the Niners with Banks. Is that
yeah, guards are
somebody's going to
going
go
up.
after him with a lot of money, and that's why they drafted Pooney. Is that
Mm-hmm.
Pooney was the left guard at Kansas? He's going to slot right in there next year, and
Yeah.
that's what's going on. But part of this is also that the owners want to create rules to protect themselves from themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Is that there are guys out there handing blank checks? Look at what happened with Deshaun Watson. The league went all out to try to get Deshaun, and so you ended up having this giant bidding war for total guaranteed money, and you had and as you were just saying with I'm blanking on Kirk Cousins,
Kurt.
that the league overreacts when they want a player and they know they got a chance of getting him, and so they all end up driving the price up anyway. And then Amazon says, "Here's a bunch of money. I'm a trillionaire." Bezos doesn't care, and so he drops off all the money for the league, and the league isn't prepared for how do we deal with this. So part of this
Right.
is the owners want a structure to say, we want some way to put a cap on this so that we can't compete against each other and drive the price up. We want to put a cap on it. We want a hard cap on it. And
Mm.
that's part of what's going on here. The thing that really upsets me with the ownership isn't any of that. It's you're not willing to invest in grass fields in every stadium because you want the Players Association to bargain for it. And you're asking players to bargain for their health instead of their future financial gain. That's sickening. That's terrible. I
Yeah.
hate that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right. I think that's evil. And then you see these people going in here and saying, oh, we'll put in grass if we host a World Cup game. Then you can put in grass for the regular season too. But
Yeah.
I hate that they're doing that. There should be a ruling from Goodell, but not that he would ever do it, to force every team to put in grass. You're
Yeah.
investing in your product, your players. You've got the most popular league in America. You've got more than enough money that you're making, but no, you want to make more. It's
Yeah.
just the greed's over the top. I don't like that. But so, given that greed, that's why they're talking about this. Is that they want to limit what you can pay a player so that they can have a hard limit in competing for a player.
Agreed, man. We got one more, but I don't know. You got one more in you, or you want to cut it
Oh,
short,
sure.
man?
Yeah, no, I can keep going.
All right. So we got one more in us right now, and this is another poll question, and this is something that um, I don't know what it means. It's more fodder for the off season, but there was recently an article. Um, releasing the top 100 players in the NFL, and among the top 100, nine of those players were 49ers. And what I'm
Okay.
going to do is be able to go over those players with you, and I'm going to give you the write ups that they had with them, and give me your thoughts. Also, I'd like to know if you think that within the nine that we had, how they're ranked. If you think anybody deserves to be higher. So
Well, so are we going to guess who the nine are, or you already know?
I already know who the nine are, but
Oh,
I
okay.
want to know. I want to know if you think you know who the nine are.
Probably not, but I'll take a guess. um, so Trent, McCaffrey, Kittle, Bosa, Fred, Ward. That's six. I think those guys are automatically in. And then it's a debate on Purdy, Aiyuk, and Debo. And that gets you to nine.
You're missing somebody.
I would put Dre in there. I think that Dre is
Hold
a
on,
top
hold. You said
100
Ward.
player.
You said Ward,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Ward. Yeah, you got all nine. 100%.
Okay.
All
I
right.
think Dre Greenlaw is a better player than Debo, for example, but that's me.
I mean, I would agree with you as well. Uh, right now, the rankings that they had them is they had Trent at 3, Christian McCaffrey at 8, Nick Bosa at 10, Fred at 22, George Kittle at 37, Brandon Aiyuk at 45, Travarius Ward at 60, Debo Samuel at 81, and Brock Purdy at 85.
Okay. I think Ward is too low.
I
I,
agree
I
that
would
Lord is too
put I
low.
would put him higher, and especially when a great DB is so valuable in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the rest of it sounds about right, but that's the
Mm-hmm.
one that struck me as off.
Mm-hmm.
Some people could debate Ayuk, but I think that if you gave Ayuk a different quarterback and a different offense, what would he produce? He would
Mm-hmm.
produce a top 50 talent in the league. So I'm okay with Ayuk being 47.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
No, that's basically it. The only guy that I would put in there instead is Dre.
So you don't think that Brock at 85 was a bit of a snub?
No, because he's still young. He hasn't played that much yet. I think that Brock is at 85 for now, but after this season is over, I'd be surprised if Brock didn't move up to the 70s.
All right. So look, for me, these are some of the players that were ahead of Brock that I don't agree with. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I don't have that list, so I don't know.
Right. So this is what I want to do. What I would like to do is, what I would love to do is, I can't do it now, but I'll share the screen. But check me out, man. So ahead of Brock was at 85, right? Nico Collins was at 77. Okay.
No. There's so many talented receivers in the league. I don't think that Nico Collins is
Right.
that
Like,
high.
yeah, let's bear this list out. Devon Witherspoon, a rookie corner, was at 74.
He
Okay.
was good, but I don't know if that good. No,
Over Brock, Montez
no,
Sweat.
no.
Montez Sweat was 73. He got traded from Washington to Chicago.
Played well for the Bears, but still.
I don't think that Devontae Smith, receiver out of the Eagles, I don't see that. Trey McBride.
No. Trey McBride, come on now.
He had a cup of coffee and a sweet roll in Arizona. That's it.
Yeah, no, no.
Like, I think uh, that's disrespect, man.
Yeah, well, you have to factor in the value of the position. It's part of why I think that Ward need to go higher. And Purdy
George,
does too. Come on.
George Pickens. George Pickens at 68. George
Why
can't block Kip Pickens at
why do you think
68.
Why do you think Pittsburgh wants Aiyuk?
Bro,
Come
that's
on.
nuts.
Yeah.
Yo,
Pickens shouldn't
Puka,
be on the top 100 list.
dog, Puka Nakua.
Okay, Puka, I can see him top 100.
Puka Nakua at 66?
At
Alvin and the
66?
Chipmunks. No. I love
Dog,
that. I love that you can go to Alvin.
Tua
It's hilarious.
Tagovailoa at 65.
that's crazy.
Tua 20 higher than Brock.
Tua
No
is 20
way.
spots over Brock. That's whack. No way, bro.
No.
No way.
This list is paying way too much attention to statistics in a vacuum.
Yeah, come on, bro. Come on, man.
No,
Like, I'm looking
no.
at some guys. Okay, all right.
That's
Sam
how you end up with
Laporta.
Pickens as high as he did. Laporta, it's another one where it stats, but I like Laporta. I think
Yo,
he's
ho,
got
ho,
the
check
drag.
this out. Lane Johnson at 52. All right.
Based on what?
All right. Let me ask you this. Do you think that Jalen Hurts, who would you take, Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy at quarterback?
Purdy.
Is it close to you? It's not close to me.
No, well, Jalen was exposed. The Niners exposed him.
They got
All you have to do with Jalen Hurts is flush him wide. He'll only throw to the near sideline. He'll wipe out 90% of the field. And look what happened. They shut him down completely.
bro.
Everybody's going to know what to do with Jalen next year.
Jalen Hurts at 53.
Not a chance in the world.
Brock Purdy is at 85 and Jalen Hurts is at 53. Is there a God? Like, are you crazy?
Who's putting this list together?
Whose
Roseman.
fucking name is this? Who's got
No.
Nah, man, like name. Who is this guy? Who put this together? Haley Mukel. No.
Does he cover the Eagles?
No, Pete Prisco.
Oh, okay, that guy.
Pete Prisco. Who is this guy?
Sorry, Pete. No. He's national media.
That's nuts.
No, Pete.
Jalen Hurts at 50 whatever. Brock Purdy at 85. Are you nuts?
I don't think so.
I don't understand this, Tom.
That doesn't work. I mean, I agree with the list in terms of the Niners that were in the 100 except for drag, but any list that has Jalen Hurts 53 is automatically suspect.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Maxime. Like, yakking shit is cool, but Brock dropped 42 in Philly. I mean, like, show some respect.
Yeah, exactly.
Show some respect. Like, East Coast bias. It's got to be East Coast bias. I'm from the East Coast. I'm over here. It's got to be. That's great. George Pickens? Like, I'm really going to, like, you know what? I'm going to comb through this list right now. All right. I'm going to go through the, all right. So, all right. Oh, hold on. Before we do this, okay? Where do you have Brock in the top 100? Where would you put him?
Yeah, I would put him like 75, somewhere around there, but all these quarterbacks would be beneath him.
Right.
Tua's not in the 100.
We just gonna go at the quarterbacks. That's right.
Hurts is not in the 100. Okay, so if just quarterbacks alone, I got a list in front of me: Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Herbert.
Right.
Stroud, Stafford, Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers, if he's healthy.
Right.
And then a tier of Love, Goff, Purdy, and Lawrence, depending on how they play. I would put them in a similar tier, and then it's just who does it. But right now, I would say that Love and Purdy are on the top of that list. Goff could challenge. Lawrence hasn't shown enough, but he's got the ability inherently to be in that group in terms of just his skill set.
Yeah.
But if there's anybody I would drop off of that tier, it would be Lawrence. So that would be Love, Goff, Purdy. And I think those guys are similar. But, yeah, notice, there's no Jalen Hurts in that tier. There's no Tua Tagovailoa in there either. No. They're beneath Brock.
It's nuts, man.
Unquestionably, undeniably beneath Brock.
Yes. Yeah. It's like a night and day difference. I don't understand where they got that from. But hey,
Stats.
man,
It's all about just looking at the stats in a vacuum, and it's not paying attention to anything else.
man, unreal.
Bad list.
Tom, we got another one in the books, man. How do you
We got
feel?
through. We got through a stream in June. We're doing okay.
This shit sucks. We need something to talk about, bro.
I still enjoyed the discussion, though. I thought we had some good stuff that we talked about.
Right. I feel good, man.
Anti-Walsh, I enjoyed. I thought that we did a great job with the quarterback salary cap and talking about the ramifications of that. And then your stuff with Jesse on the quarterbacks was hilarious. Just
look, man, I'm bringing more stuff, man. We're gonna mix it up more. Yes, only
I hear you, though, but that's 86 very long days.
We are in the Siberia of football right now. We're like trudging through the Sahara. 40 days and 40 nights. Like, it's getting bad, man.
It's tough. Well, this is the time of the year where I'm so grateful to be a diehard track fan.
Right? At least you'll get something.
The Olympic trials are taking place in Eugene right now. I'm good.
Oh, my God. Like, right now, man.
I don't have to pay any attention to football, and there's no reason to.
Dude,
I don't want to say Brandon Aiyuk's name again for 3 months.
I feel like Joe Namath on a Monday Night Football game. Struggling. I was struggling. I'm struggling.
Bragging.
Yeah, I want to kiss you. You look really nice. I want to kiss you. Yo.
Poor Susie Colbert.
Oh, my God. I'm struggling. The team is struggling. So
it's starting to sound like Arnold. I got to do one of it. It's not the tomb.
Oh, there's a wild way that I paused on top. Hey, super chats are coming in the next 2 months. They're going to be here definitely before. We're going to be here definitely before camp starts. Me and Jesse are going to be out at camp. That's going to be live right here. Rocking with my boy Tom. Is Tom, you back? I don't know if Tom is back. But look, hey, we had a great show, guys. Love all you guys, man. Keep supporting the channel, man. I'm remembering who the day ones are. I'm remembering the guys that are rocking with us in the tough parts of the season. Tom, you know what I'm saying? Tom's my guy. Hold on, we just gonna switch out real quick.
Sorry about that.
Oh, he's back. I was gonna close out without you, dog.
No. I'll make a comeback. It's just the gerbil got tired. My internet went down.
Don't call it a comeback. He's been here for years. Hey, but look, man, I got like I was just closing out the chat, man. Like super chats and all that stuff is gonna be here before I get out to camp, before camp starts, man. It's been a long road. We've been grinding, getting back brick by brick. But look, guys, you guys are the life's blood to this channel. You guys have no idea how much I keep coming back to you guys. Really. We got real life things going on. Everything's not great. But being able to turn this camera on and get in front of like a real audience who I know is here to hear our point of view, it does something to you. And I just wanted to show my gratitude to the chat, to my supporters, to Tom. Want to thank you.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And all the hard work that you put into this. And especially thanks to the chat. We're not doing this without you guys, and we appreciate everything that you provide.
Yeah, we do this on the phone, man.
And then this is a purely interactive process about, let's talk about the Niners, and it's really tough to do in June.
Yeah, and you guys make it.
Camp. We got 4 more weeks of this, and then we got
camp. Get us to camp, guys. You guys make us so much better, and the channel's going to keep getting better. And we will see you guys next Wednesday. We will be here. I'll be on with Larry tomorrow. And tomorrow, there will be a call-in show. I'm doing a call-in show tomorrow by hook or crook. There will be a call-in show. And you guys already know the slogan, so say it with me. This is the coach. Stay low and keep your feet moving.